everybody, this is Heather Sides. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Spokane, Washington. I come to you live every Wednesday night with 3 project ideas, usually cards. I show you how I made them so that you can make them or similar ones at home yourself. So while we're waiting for people to catch up with us and find us on here, I like to go ahead and get this pulled up on my monitor so that I can be sure to see all of your comments. And I do encourage participation in the conversation. That's kind of a mouthful. Whether you're talking to each other, asking me questions, offering suggestions of your own, any of that. When you participate, your name will go into a drawing for a prize that I will award the following week. So if you are watching this on a replay, like on YouTube or even here on Facebook, if you're watching a replay, make sure you still comment, even if all you do is say hi and tell me where you're from. Be sure to tell me where you're from because I love to see where everybody's at. But even if that's all you do, your name will still go in the drawing for the prize that I'll give away next week. So make sure that at the very least you say hello and let me know where you're from. So give me a moment here. I'm pulling this up on my screen now. Oh, look, it looks like we got on here. And I remembered to turn off my Wi-Fi ahead of time this time because we found in the past that seems to create some issues. Hey, Marcia, welcome. Okay, so let's see here. Got a handful of people. Everybody say hello. Joyce has joined us. Welcome, Joyce. Okay, so, oh, I printed some stuff. I'll grab it in a minute to show you guys. Let's see if I have anything to tell you. So, okay, so last week I was babysitting my boss's dog for her, and she's a sweet little dog, very sweet little dog. But it was quite a handful because Lucy just, so wanted to play with her. And as I mentioned last week, Ruby, the dog that we were watching, is tiny and old, and Lucy is neither of those, and she doesn't know her own strength, and so she was always jumping on top of Ruby, trying to get her to play, and Ruby didn't really care for that. So by the end of the weekend, I think we were all, including Ruby, exhausted. I think the only one of us that wasn't exhausted was Lucy. But Ruby is now back home. Her mom told me that she would not leave her side for about 24 hours. She was just glued to her. Mom, I'm glad you're home. But now things are back to normal and everybody's settling back into their routine. So that's kind of nice. I don't think I really have much else to tell you about that's going on here. We got some snow this weekend. I every year I say it. Early February or late January, it starts to look like maybe spring is around the corner, and then I always say, but sometime in February we will get dumped on. That happens every year. And sure enough, this weekend we got our snow. And when I say dumped on, sometimes it's a huge snowstorm, but in this case, well, at my house we got about 6 inches of snow, which Lucy loves. Lucy loves the snow. She likes to go in and then put her muzzle in the snow and then snowplow. So she's had a great time with all this snow. I'm done. I'm ready for winter to be over and spring to start, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way. So that was something new for us, I guess, a little bit of snow. I am going to go ahead and turn this camera around, tell you a couple of things that are going on, and then we're going to get into our drawing for the week and get going on our cards. I've got a few. If you might remember last week, I was participating in this kind of challenge where I was sent some packs of the new designer series paper packs that are in our January through April mini catalog, and challenged to make at least 2 cards from each pack. And I got 3 of them. And so I got 2 of them done last week. And then this week I had 1 left. And this one I was holding on to was a little bit more of a challenge for me, which we'll talk about when we get there. But I am using it for one of our cards tonight. And then I have an extra sample that I made to show you guys. So we'll see what you think of those. So let's get the camera turned around. We'll talk about what's going on with Stampin' Up! And we'll get going. Hang on just a sec. Okay, now's the part where I sit here and I fiddle with my camera forever, trying to get it straight because you know how it bothers me when it's not straight. Okay, so I've got a couple little flyers I printed up for you, and I'm sorry they're not in color. I know they're so much easier to see when they're colored, but I have a black and white printer here at home, and I had to print them at home. So I'm going to save this one for a second because there's some extra details. So Stampin' Up! Is trying a few new things this year. In addition to our mini catalogs not being 6 full months long, like we've done in the past. They're 4 months long, and then they're also offering some online exclusive products, which this is what I want to tell you about. So the first online exclusive launch launched today. And if you go to my website, heathersides.stampinup.net, you will see like a banner that looks kind of like this and says online exclusives. And these are products that are not available in a catalog, and they're limited edition, which means once they are gone, they're gone. And you know, if it's something that maybe sells a little slower, it'll be available for a while. If it's something that sells out overnight, it sells out overnight. Now, my guess is Stampin' Up! Did a much better job than what I just described of them deciding how much of stuff to get. I doubt anything is going to sell out overnight. But my point is that it won't be restocked like it is with our catalog items. So there's quite a few of these items. I forgot to count how many there are, maybe about 15 or so. And there's everything from dies to stamps to embellishments, a little bit of everything. But they're only available through my website. You can't get it through a catalog. So be sure to check out the online exclusives at heathersides.stampinup.net. I do have a couple questions. It looks like a few more people popped on. Let's say hello to everybody. Mary says, good evening. She's thinking of Hitchcock. That's pretty funny. And then Marcia, hello, Marcia. The baby is doing great. In fact, remind me to tell you guys, you know, how I like to tell you stories as we're stamping. I have a funny story about something new she got that we call her Fuzzy. And I will tell you guys about that tonight because it's really cute. And Sharon has joined us. Mary Lou has joined us. Judy has joined us. Marcia has. I have not drawn the winner yet, Sharon. So we'll be getting going with that in a minute. Thank you, Marcia, for sharing my video. That always helps me so much, and I really do appreciate it whenever any of you share my video. Hello, Teresa. Welcome. Hello, Robin. And Sharon, you asked about what our weather is like here. Over the weekend, we got about, we got some snow off and on throughout the weekend, but on Monday night, I think it was, overnight, we got about 6 inches. And it hasn't really snowed since then, but it's still hanging around. So hopefully it'll be gone soon. Okay, so the other thing that I want to tell you about is this colorful kaleidoscope kit. And I'm toying with the idea of trying to turn my phone so you can see my computer screen. Let's see if we can try this, because I want you to see a little bit about this kit because it's pretty darn amazing to see it in color. So hang on here. We're going to try this and just see how well this works. Can you guys see that? I mean, it's not a fabulous shot, but you can kind of see the colors and the patterns that are in this kit. Isn't that gorgeous, you guys? Well, anyway, so Stampin' Up! Just launched. This one just came out today, and it's got all the stuff you need to make the kit, right? To make all the cards. You get the stamps, you get the ink spot, you get all the things. So here's something I have decided to do. I am going to offer an online class where everybody who purchases this kit in a certain time frame, which I'll tell you in a minute, everybody who purchases it will be eligible to participate in this Zoom class that I'm going to offer. So what will happen is if you want to participate in the class, the class will be free to you if you have purchased the kit. So you go to my website, you purchase the kit, make sure you use my March host code, because that'll draw my attention to it so that I can see that you ordered the kit. And then I will send you an invitation link to the Zoom class so that we can make the cards together, and not just the cards that the kit, when you get the kit, it gives you samples and says, here's the cards to make. I'm going to do alternative ideas, and I'm also going to have a small pack of supplies that I will send out to you for the additional cards that we're going to make. So let me know if that's something that interests you. If it is, I guess you don't have to let me know, but you can just go onto my website, heathersides.stampinup.net, order the colorful kaleidoscope kit, use the March host code, and then you have this amazing kit, and then I will send you the link information to get to participate in the Zoom class that I will be teaching to make these and more cards. So does that make sense to everybody? So I want to give everybody time to order their kit and have it shipped to them, but also for me to know that you're going to be in the class so I can send you the extra supplies for the extra cards that we're going to make. So what I'm thinking is April 1st is a Saturday. So I'm thinking that I will do the class on April 1st. I am asking that if you register, and I'm going to be posting this information on my Facebook page as well, and on Instagram and my other social media, so you will see this. But you need to place your order by the 15th of March, so that gives you a couple weeks, because then that gives me time to know how many of the kits I need to prepare and mail out, and then it gives a little bit of mailing time to get your kit to you. Oh, now when you order your kaleidoscope kit through Stampin' Up, that will be mailed directly to you from Stampin' Up. So when I talk about shipping stuff to you, I'm just talking about the extra pieces that I'm going to send you for the extra cards, the extra card stock and embellishments or whatever. So, hey Nell, welcome. So if this interests you, I'm really excited to see what kind of turnout we get for this. I'd love to have you join us. Again, the class is going to be free when you purchase the colorful kaleidoscope kit through my website. And again, make sure you use the March host code. So if anybody has questions about that, let me know, or you can send me an email at stamphappenings@gmail.com, or you can send me a personal message here on Facebook. So that's all I have for you in regard to that kind of stuff tonight. We'll go ahead and do our drawing. Tonight's winner is going to get this little kit that I put together. I'm kind of having fun putting these little kits together as prizes. So this may be what I do for a little while. This is our designer series paper this was the hostess pack in last year's annual catalog, and you get 2 sheets of each of the prints, and the front side are these nice bright colors. This is kind of the color scheme of the whole pack. There's stripes, there's looks like, it reminds me of a mermaid, the scales, flowers, just all sorts of random patterns and prints, all in this color scheme. But the back side is all different black and white prints. So that's kind of fun too. Oh, and I already flipped it over, and you can see that this week's winner is Marcia Cullibert. So congratulations, Marcia. The kit also comes with 2 yards of this burlap twine, not burlap, I can't even remember what they called it, but it's kind of like our baker's twine, but it's a little bit thicker. I really liked this, and I wish that we still had it, because I just really liked it. And then I don't know how well you can see it in the pack, but there's a little pack of the epoxy dots. Some are in the little teardrop shape and some are round. So this little kit is what Marcia will be receiving. Marcia, I have your address on file, so you don't even have to let me know your address. I can just pop this in the mail to you. So again, congratulations, Marcia. Okay, so who is ready to get started on our cards? Gonna get started with a fairly simple one here. We're using the Decorative Borders stamps. This is in the new January through April mini catalog. We're also using the Biggest Wish set. This is in our annual catalog. I use this one quite a bit because I really love the different fonts for the sentiments. And then we're also using the Something Fancy dies. These are in the January through April mini catalog as well. And these are kind of fun because you can make all these different labels, and then there's these little cutouts that you can put on them. There's a little banner. This is a great standalone die set that I really, really like. Okay, so the card we're going to be making, this is it, and it's pretty simple. All the cards tonight are kind of simple cards with the coordinating envelope. Let me show you, there's our inside, again, simple inside. So let's go ahead and get started on this card. Pull out all the pieces. Our card base is the standard card base. You know what that means? It means 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Hey, Talina, welcome. Okay, so now we're gonna fold it at that score line of 4 1/4. We're gonna take the bone folder. There we go. Get a nice sharp crease there and just set it aside for the moment. We've got lots of pieces here. Let's get started with our envelope, and we're just going to add a little bit of our liquid glue to the envelope flap. Oh, it's a brand new tube of liquid glue, so it comes out a little fast. Let's see if I can pull some of that over so we don't have it seeping out the edges. Okay. I love that you guys all congratulate whoever wins every week. Okay. Now, looks like I got a little bit of glue on my envelope there, so when it dries, I'm going to use my glue eraser or my adhesive eraser to get that off of my envelope. Let's trim this extra off. I am using the Regency Park Designer Series paper. This is a really fun paper. It's really pretty, but fun too. So there's some prints that are a little more on the pretty side, some that are a little more on the cute side. So it just kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. Kind of got a little crazy cutting that one out there. Remember, as you're cutting off the extra here, if you cut off a piece of your envelope flap, it's no big deal. No one knows, no one cares. But they are going to care that their envelope was decorated because it's fun. So here we go, we've got the envelope and it's all done. Let it dry a little bit before I take my adhesive eraser and get that glue off the envelope. Now let's do the inside piece. For the inside piece, I've got a piece of basic white that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And we're just going to take this piece of the Designer Series paper and we're going to glue this strip along the bottom of it. Just gives it a little something on the inside, which I like to do. Those of you who've been following me know that. And I'm leaving just a little bit of a white margin at the bottom there. Couldn't think of the word margin. Just give it a little, it pops off the card a little bit. Trim off the extra. Okay, now let's glue this to the inside. Find my adhesive. And glue this in here. Just try to make sure your margins are relatively the same. If they're, if they're not exact, it doesn't matter. It's not like the person's going to give the card back to you and tell you to fix it, or that they're going to hate the card. They're going to love that you sent them a handmade card, right? Okay, so now I have another piece of basic white. This one is also 5 1/4 by 4. I have a piece of the Designer Series paper, and this one is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So it's just an 1/8 of an inch smaller than my piece of basic white. And we're just going to glue it on there like that. So we have a very fine margin that I know you can't see super well because it's on a white background right at the moment. But we're going to go ahead and put the card together as much as we can just to get pieces out of the way. Okay. Oop. Got a little bit of adhesive there on my work surface. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and this paper I don't think has an up or a down. I think it can go any direction. And I'm just going to glue it on right there, just like that. Now let's do a little bit of stamping. So I've got this piece and it looks like I've got a little bit of an edge sticking up from where I cut it. So I'm just taking my bone folder and just going down over that edge. It flattens it back out so it doesn't stick up. And sometimes you get that just from the blade from when you cut, especially if your blade is starting to get dull. So this piece, it's kind of a weird measurement, I know that. It was 4 5/8. I had to think about that. 4 5/8 this way. And then, oh, you can't even see that. It's not even on the screen. Okay, so let's try this. Going this way, it's 4 5/8. Going this way, it's 3 3/8. So 4 5/8, 3 3/8. I know, like I said, it's a weird measurement. I did that because I wanted just a little bit more of this border to show, but I still wanted to have plenty of white to do the rest of the card. Then I also have this little piece of basic white that it's just one of the tags that I cut out of the Something Fancy, cut out with one of the Something Fancy dies. And I'm going to use my Night of Navy ink. I'm going to use, oops, stamps are sticking together. Let's see here. Okay, so I've got my thanks stamp from the Biggest Wish stamp set. I've also got this cute, tiny little accent. Let me show you. It's probably easier to see it showing you this way. This little guy right here, that's the one I'm using. And then I also have, oh, there it is. Hang on. I couldn't find the biggest one of all. So I have this one also with this little corner piece. These decorative borders are just kind of fun because you do have those little tiny pieces. You've got some curved pieces. You have straight pieces. You've got small. You've got big. You've got a lot that you can do. So let's ink up the stamp. And I'm going to stamp right here. I am really, I'm noticing having a hard time being in the frame tonight. So we're just going to put this right in the corner, just like that. Push it down. There we go. Perfect, right? So Lucy has this bone that the ends of it are hollow and we put peanut butter in it to keep her entertained when we need her to focus on something other than what we're doing. And so I asked Jackson, my son, to come once I got started to come and fix her bone for her to buy me some time before she starts getting obnoxious. Okay, so got my thanks here. And I'm just going to stamp it right in the middle. Just like so. This stamp, you know, this stamp is now having a hard time sticking to my block. And all you have to do when that is the case is take a little bit of dish soap, like Dawn dish soap, and just gently wash the back of your stamp. It makes it so it's sticky again. And then it won't be problematic for you anymore. Okay, so now I have this little tiny one that I showed you on the case of the stamps. And I'm just going to stamp it right here under the A and the N, between the H and the K, just like that. Now let's put this navy ink away before I do some damage with it, like lay down in it. Thank you, Jackson. Okay, now I'm taking one of my aqua painters. When you buy aqua painters, you get a set of 3. They come with 3 sizes of brushes. This is the fine brush. There's one that's kind of flat and wide, which is great for just doing background swipes or whatever. And then there's one that's kind of a medium one. But this is the fine one, which I like using when I've got really small details. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some ink in my lid here. I'm going to get some of the extra off. You don't want your brush to be too wet, which is why you saw me go like this on my hand, because then that just got some of that extra. It allowed me to get the water out by squeezing the pen, because it holds. If you haven't seen these before, let me show you. The top unscrews, you put water in the barrel like that, and then you can squeeze it and water comes out and you have a wet brush. But you don't want it to be super duper wet, because then it just kind of bleeds and you don't have a lot of control of your color. So that's why I like to do it in my hand, so I get a little bit of water, and then I scribble it a little bit on my paper so that I get some of that extra water off. Now what I'm doing right here is I'm just coloring in the leaves and the flowers, and I know leaves aren't blue, but I just kind of wanted to stick to the color scheme here of Night of Navy and Balmy Blue. And you know, I'm not being super precise here. So if I go outside of the lines a little bit, that's okay. If I have little sections that don't get ink, that's okay too. The idea is just to add a little bit of color. And you'd be surprised when you do something like this and it goes out of the lines a little bit, it kind of adds to that watercolor look a little bit. It doesn't make it look bad. But again, you want to make sure you don't have too wet of a brush, or it will bleed everywhere and then it does kind of look sort of funny. Okay, and then when you're done, just scribble on your paper and it gets the extra color off of your brush. So now let's go ahead and stick this guy down on our card. And it's just centered right here on this piece. I said you're centered. It wasn't listening to me, you guys. Okay, there we go. Just ta-da. Now I've got this little banner piece that we already stamped. And then with those dies, there's also one, same shape, that's just slightly bigger to create a mat. So let's go ahead and glue that guy on there. And you can use whatever adhesive you like. I'm just using my liquid adhesive here because I do like that it allows me to wiggle the paper around a little bit to make sure it's centered on that mat as much as I would like it to be. There we go. It's not super centered there. I don't know if you could tell that I was wiggling it around a little bit, sliding it around to get it where I wanted it, because it was such a small amount that I did that. Okay, next I've got a little bit of our blue ribbon. This is ribbon that comes in the Regency Park suite as well, and I love it. I think it's so pretty. I like how it's kind of matte in the middle but shiny on the outer edges. I'm just going to tie myself a small bow here, and then of course fiddle with it until I get everything to be the size that I want it to be. Let's see. And the trick is trying to, when you need to make those loops a little bit smaller, doing that without necessarily loosening the bow. And I found that I personally have the most success by sticking my finger in it, like you see here, and then pulling on the tail a little bit. So pull that down. I'll trim my tails once it's on the card so I get an idea of where my tails are at. So let's see here. I'm going to take a couple glue dots and put them down. Take my Take Your Pick tool. You know my philosophy about the Take Your Pick tool. If you could only have one Stampin' Up! Tool, this would be the one to get. I'm going to put this on the back of my bow, right on the back of that knot, and stick it right there in the corner, like so. You know, I might see if it'll let me pull it up very easily, because I kind of want to move it a little bit closer to the edge there, just to get it off of my sentiment a little bit. And then there we go. Perfect. And then we're going to put a few dimensionals on the back. You know I like to use my foam adhesive sheets, but I still need to order some. That darn assistant of mine didn't get it done. She's going to get fired. Okay, I've got lots of dimensional pieces here. Don't forget that the edges of your dimensional strips are dimensionals as well. So make sure you're using those and not throwing them out. And it's such a good feeling too when you've used up the whole sheet, including those pieces. You just feel so resourceful. Let's see here. Oops. There. So now let's peel all the backings off here. Okay. And we're just going to line this up on the card right about, I say right about there. How's that sound? There we go. And that's all there is to that card. Told you, quick and simple, right? So let's get these pieces out of the way. But there we go, card number 1. Just like so, with our matching envelope. Let's set that aside and we'll get going on card number 2. Okay, now this is the one that I used that designer, that I was challenged to use that designer series paper from the new mini catalog. I want to show you this pack. Okay, so this pack was a little harder for me because I'm not really an animal prints girl, unless it's pink, and then I do like pink cheetah print, but and I do like mermaid prints. I like mermaids. I love mermaids. But this pack just wasn't necessarily what I would consider me. So it was a little more challenging, and I didn't really have any animal stamps that matched these prints. So it was a little more of a challenge, which was good for me. It made me think outside the box. So there's this print that's like the fish scales, and then the other side is shiny. And all of these are shiny on one side and matte on the other. So we have this print right here, the little, are these like leopard spots? Like that. This one, the little zebra. And then like a snake skin, I guess. And then the giraffe. And then the cheetah print, or the, yeah, is this cheetah print? So those are all the patterns that come in this pack. And it's kind of fun, especially if you do like animal prints or have the more exotic animals stamps with like giraffes and things like that. Then it is a little bit easier to use. But if you don't have those, then you can do what I did and pretty much just worked with sentiments. So this was one card. We're not going to make this one tonight. This was just the extra one that I made. I took my blending brush and I colored it because remember, let me show you here. This is what I started with. And I colored on the shiny side. And I took a blending brush and my Melon Mambo ink and I colored it. And I actually did a couple of layers of color, meaning I swirled my brush around all over it, let the ink kind of settle into the paper, then came back and did it again. So I got layers of color, and it did seem to work a little better when I did that, as far as darkening or brightening it up, giving me a richer, deeper color. But then the other thing that I did, because with this metallic, ink doesn't like to stick to the metallic as well. So then I took just a paper towel and rubbed over it to get the ink off of the metallic part. It didn't necessarily look any different, but when you've got that ink that isn't really absorbing into the metallic pieces, it gets all over your hands, and I don't like that. So just a paper towel over it cleaned that right up. So here's the card that I made with that. See, and there's the inside. And I really liked this. I liked how it turned out. Thought it was really pretty. And now the card we're going to make together, I'm using the Good Feelings stamp set. I love this set because I like the big sentiments. If you want a quick and easy card, go for these big sentiments because, you know, they take up most of the space on your card. So you don't have to come up with a lot of other ideas of how are you going to decorate your card. And then I also use the Stylish Shapes dies, which, you know, I use those all the time. And then I created a card kind of similar to this last week for something else I was doing that you may have seen on one of my social media sites. I did it after our video last week, so you didn't see me make it. But it was kind of similar to this. And here's what I did. It's the fish scale print, or mermaid print is what it is to me. And I colored it in the different colors. We're going to do this together. And gave it a little sparkle with my Wink of Stella pen. And there's the inside. So let's make this together. First, I've got standard card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5 inches, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay, set that aside for the moment. Take out all my pieces. Now, usually I like to do my envelope first, but we've got a little bit of coloring to do, so we're going to do all that first. Okay, for this, hang on here. I'm going to use basic gray for my sentiment, but I'm going to set that aside because I'm not quite ready for my sentiment yet. But then for all of my little mermaid scales, I'm using Bermuda Bay, Tahitian Tide, and Gorgeous Grape. Let's start with the flap of the envelope. Make sure your scales are going the right way. On this card, you can see that I wanted to alternate. You see they went purple, blue, green, and so I wanted to alternate. But the problem was I had all my scales going the same direction when I colored them. So some of my scales are upside down, which just makes me laugh. Okay, so I'm going to start with my Bermuda Bay. And I've got 3 of my blending brushes here. The blending brushes are such a great deal. I think you pay like $12 and you get 3 of them. And these brushes are just amazing. You can clean them if you want to, but actually all the recommendations I've seen have said don't clean them because it's kind of like a cast iron pan, how it seasons. The more you use it, the more it seasons the pan and you get richer flavors. It's the same idea with your brushes, except that you don't eat them. Just in case that needed to be clarified. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of the Coastal Cabana. I'm sorry, this is Bermuda Bay, not Coastal Cabana. And I wanted this to be a little bit darker here. So I am going to do a few layers of it. Sorry about the wiggling. Okay, inking this up a little bit. And I'm just getting some nice color there. Okay, let's go ahead and do all of our Coastal Cabana at the same time. So now I have 2 pieces that I want my scales to go this direction, and I'm going to do the Coastal Cabana at the bottom. Oh, poop. Oop, me and my big vulgar language, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is take these little strips. Oops. And I'm getting it all over my fingers. Yay me. Got my other one with the scales going that direction. Okay. And then I have this longer one. This is what's going to go on the inside of my card. And it's so narrow that I couldn't do all three colors, so I just chose to do it in the Coastal Cabana. Oh, Bermuda Bay, not Coastal Cabana. I'm gonna keep saying that all night long. Okay, so let's do this strip in just the one color, Bermuda Bay. Getting some good color on there. Okay. Now this piece is done because that's the only color we're going to do. Now I have these other two strips that are just like these ones. These strips, by the way, are 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. And this is just 6 inches by 1/2 an inch. Okay. Now what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to get my scales going the opposite direction. Wait a second here. Yes, okay. Get my scales going the opposite direction here this time around as these ones that I did up here. Okay. Now, the last little bit that I'm going to use my Bermuda Bay for is this circle that I used my stylish shapes to create. And I'm just going to go around the edge first, and then start going around the middle. And I'm going to go around the edge a little bit extra because I liked that it ended up just a little bit darker. It made the edges of it pop off just a little bit more. There we go. Oh, I can't stand it when I have ink all over my fingers. You'd think I'd be used to it by now. And then when I'm done with a color, I do like to just go like this a little bit with my brush just to get some of that extra ink off. Because if I don't, when the brush sets up against something else, it transfers the ink over and just, it can create a mess, and I don't like that. Okay, then, just so we can finish this piece, let's go ahead and take the basic gray and stamp our sentiment. And the sentiment we're using on this one is thank you. Of course, you could use any sentiment you want, right? And I'm just stamping it right kind of in the center of my circle there, just like that. Okay. Scoot this out of the way. Now let's go back to what we were doing. Now we're going to do the Tahitian tide. And we're going to do the same thing as we did on the other pieces, but we're going to do it just up a little bit higher than we did the Bermuda Bay. So I'm just going in here right along the middle, which looks like I didn't really get much ink there that time because it doesn't show up very well yet. I'm starting to see some of the Tahitian tide, but I think it's going to take a little bit more than that. I may need to re-ink my pad. That may be part of my problem. Again, I apologize for all the wiggling, goodness gracious. But see how that green kind of then blends into the blue? like a mermaid, like a mermaid. And now what I'm going to do is, again, just a little bit up from the Bermuda Bay, I'm going to do the blue, or Tahitian Tide. It's easier when you're not doing the ends and you can hold down your paper and it doesn't get all folded up like that. But it's not a big deal if it, like if it folds up a little bit like it did when I was doing the Bermuda Bay, because we glue the piece down anyway, so we don't have to worry about it sticking up. Okay. Now, to save yourself a little time, if you wanted all of your pieces to go the same direction, remember I said I alternate mine when I put them on the card. If you wanted them to all go the same direction, you could just take a strip that is 3 inches by 4 inches and color the whole thing, and then cut it into your strips versus doing each strip individually like I am. Okay, get some of that extra off my brush. And then let's see here. We are done with the Tahitian Tide, so I can put that away. And now we're going to use the Gorgeous Grape. I really do think this is a gorgeous color. I think it's very appropriately named because it's just such a nice, rich purple. I like it a lot. Okay, so now we're going to do this end. Got a lot on there. A lot. Okay. Oops. Okay. See, and this still, I mean, even doing all my strips individually, still goes pretty quickly. Let's get a little more color on that one. And then finally on our envelope flap piece. Oh, thanks, Joyce. Joyce likes my glue holder. One time I was watching a YouTube video of another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I don't even remember anymore who it was. And she had one like this, and I loved it. And she put it in her comments because she got lots of comments about it. So she put in her comments where she got it. And it was just somebody on Etsy that made it with a 3D printer. And so I contacted her and said, can you make me one in pink? Because pink's my color. And she said, sure. So I bought one from her. Okay, there we go. Didn't that turn out really cool, you guys? How the green blends into the blue, blends into the purple. I just love that. Okay, so now the next step before we're ready to build everything is we're going to take Wink of Stella and, whoops, there we go. There we go. And I'm going to squeeze it just a little bit. You can see how the ink kind of, or the sparkly stuff gets into I don't know what you call that part of the pen, but down further in the barrel. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to lay these pieces all down like this. Oops. And even this piece here. And then I'm just going to tap like this. And it's shaking some of that Wink of Stella off of the brush and just kind of splattering it onto my pieces of paper. And you can do it as much or as little as you want. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside for the moment. Just let the wing of celery, it dries pretty quickly, but if you do manhandle it right away, it can smudge it a little, which again, it's not a huge deal. I mean, it's just sparkly. It's not like it's an image. Yeah, so get my brush cleaned off a little bit here. See how I have glitter all over my hands now. So you know, you gotta not care about having glitter all over yourself. Okay, so let's start piecing this little guy together. I have my card, or my envelope. Let's start with that. Put a little bit of glue along the edge of the flap. By the way, I mentioned this last week as well. I had put out kind of an APB on my social media saying, hey, I'm close to reaching my goal for sales during Celebration. If you have stuff you want to order, I would love to earn your business. Help me out and order from my website so that I can reach my goal. And I did reach my goal, you guys. So I want to thank every one of you that placed an order. That really helped me out. So thank you, thank you, thank you. See how I smudged that a little bit, which not a big deal. I mean, it's just sparkly stuff. Who cares? Oh, and going like this wiped the smudges right off. Of course, now I'm starting to look like the Tin Man, but give me just a second. I'm going to get something to wipe some of that extra glitter off of my fingers. Lucy, get down. Good girl. Okay, so just a wet washcloth. I like to try to keep baby wipes at my desk because they work a lot easier just because you have them right there and they're not super wet to get everything else wet. But, you know, I haven't bought them in a while and I need to. Okay, so we put our little piece of paper on there that we've colored. And now I'm going to take my snips and cut off the extra. There we go. And there's our envelope. Can you guys see? Oh yeah, you can see the sparkle on the camera there. I love that. I mean, who doesn't love sparkle, right? Okay. Yep, Joyce, that's the smart thing to do. Just keep a box of the wipes on your desk. And like I said, I used to. Then I ran out and I don't have little kids anymore. So I don't think about buying them. I'm just wiping off some of this extra, the clumpies that are on here. It just blends them in a little bit better. There we go. Okay. Lucy's out playing in the snow right now. She loves that snow. Okay. Now, let's start piecing our card together. So I've got two pieces of basic white. One is just slightly bigger than the other. It is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. This is the one that's going to go on the inside. And now we're going to take this strip and we're just going to put it right along. Let's put it along the bottom here since we want our scales to go a certain direction. And I'm going to let this go right up against the bottom of my paper so there's no margin showing. Slide it to the bottom. And now we'll just trim off the excess here. There we go, just like that. And let's go ahead and glue that to the inside of our card. Oops, see? And see how I got, oh, that's just stuff that'll wipe off. Never mind. I got some glue on my card, so I'll use my adhesive eraser here in a minute to just get that off. I love my adhesive eraser. This is not a product Stampin' Up! Sells. I just bought mine on Amazon. Not expensive, like a couple bucks. Okay, there we go. We're going to set this aside for the moment while we do the rest of our card. Let's go ahead and mount this piece of white onto our Bermuda Bay. The piece of Bermuda Bay is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and then the basic white is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, so it's just slightly smaller. And we're gonna put her right there on there. Make sure our margins are, you know, relatively the same. And now we're just gonna lay out our little pieces. Now you can have them so that they all go, remember they can all have your fish scales going the same direction. I'm sorry, not the fish scales, but the colors going the same direction. Or you can switch it up a little bit, which is what we did. Let's see here. I want to make sure all my scales are going the right way, because that is not what I did the last time. Okay, so there we go. Now we're cooking with grease. Okay. And I'm just laying these here to get an idea of my placement. Oops. Yeah. So it kind of looks like a W when it's just there like that, which kind of makes me laugh. But let's go ahead and do these outside pieces first. So my fish scales are going the right direction. And there's no real precision to the placement. Okay. Now I have some of our metallic mesh ribbon. And this is kind of cool because you can kind of make it smaller so it's not quite as thick if you don't want it thick like this, or you can spread it out so that it's nice and wide. Around Halloween, it makes great fancy cobwebs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap it around here, and I'm going to tie a little square knot. And then I'm going to spread these out just a little bit. You'll see why in a second. And now I'm going to wiggle it over so that my knot, I want it to come down a little bit. Like that. And I want my knot to be about 2/3 of the way over, like that. Now, let's put some dimensionals on our, we're actually going to put the dimensionals on the card itself so that we avoid putting them on the ribbon. And then we're going to have to put some on the ribbon, but let's sneak that on after we've laid this down. So we're going to pull up the back here. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because I can make sure I've got some good foam adhesive there where we don't have ribbon, see? And then so that it lays right. There we go. And then if I want to sneak in more of my dimensionals under these pieces, I can. I don't think it needs it. Well, it kind of needs a little something there, it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back off of this little piece. I'm going to take my take your pick tool. Maybe. And I'm just going to slide it under there like that. And yeah, maybe I'll do one right over there too. There we go. There. So now we can trim this. And the reason I spread this out is because I wanted to make sure that it was a little wider when it stuck out from behind my circle. So let's see. I kind of don't want it to be too long there. You know, just enough that it sticks out, gives it a little bit of interest, but it's not, you know, it's not like it's a bow where it's really drawing attention. So it's just like that. It adds just a little bit of shimmer, a little sparkle. Let's go ahead and glue this down to the front of our card. How many of you guys have used this mesh ribbon before, this metallic mesh before? This is my first time using it. I've had it for a long time, and it's kind of been out of sight, out of mind, I think. I don't think about using it, but I keep seeing it used in really creative ways, thinking, I gotta use that. Okay, now we're gonna take just a few of our opaque adhesive backed gems. We're gonna use that fresh freesia, the lighter purple. And we're going to, oh, it's on there. Put a few of these guys on here, just in some sort of random spots. Let's see, where should we put this last one? Let's do another small one, I think. Right about there. There. And now this card is done. What do you guys think of this one? With their little sparklies and... There we go. Okay. So, let's get some stuff put away. We'll get going on our final card. And this last card I actually cased from somebody online. I found it on Pinterest. Let me just look really quick and see if I can find this person's name because I forgot to write it down, and I really want to give them credit because I did change a couple of things to make it my own, but it is still very similar to their card. And so I would like to give them proper credit here. Let's see. Okay, while that's looking up here. Oh, there, I found it. So this card that we're making was originally done by a gentleman named Brian King, and he is it looks like his website is stampwithbrian.com, and it's such a simple layout. I really, really liked it. I thought it looked really sharp, and I'm using these brushed shape dies. I just got these the other day. I actually got them as a gift from my upline for my 2-year anniversary. And I love them. They're just nice and simple, and you can really use them with a ton of different things. I forgot to clean up my mess here. I'll do that in a moment. And then I'm going to use the Bamboo Beauty stamp set just because I liked the "You Are So Loved" sentiment right there. So let's move these out of the way. clean up my mess and then I'll show you the card we're making. So here's the card we're going to make. I'm using our merrier cardstock and then the DSP that is fresh freesia in our color families. So there's the front of the card. Here's the inside of the card. And of course our envelope. So let's go ahead and get started. For this one, the card base is, whoops, hang on here. Gotta put some things away. All the things. Okay, so this one, I cut it's a half of a sheet of cardstock, just like your basic card base, but it's cut the opposite direction. Instead of cutting my cardstock horizontally, I cut it vertically. Oh, Talina says that they follow Brian, that he's very talented. I haven't looked to see what else he does, so I'll have to take a look because I did really like this card. So then it's 11 inches by 4 1/4. So it's just a half of a sheet, but cut lengthwise. And then I scored it at 5 1/2 inches. So let's go ahead and fold this. And we'll set it aside. Got all our little bits and pieces. Let's do our envelope first. I think I forgot to mention earlier that when I do a strip like this, it's 2 1/2 inches by 6 inches. In this case, it's 2 1/4 inches because that was the size I had to do in order to just use a 6 by 6 sheet of designer series paper for this card. Okay, so, and 2 1/4 works. I just normally do 2 1/2 because it's easy and I know I've got lots of wiggle room and I don't have to worry about making sure that it's super precisely lined up. Got a little bit of extra glue there. I was going to say I seem to be doing that a lot tonight, but I know it's because my glue bottle is a new bottle of glue and it flows really well when it's brand new. I just opened it last night. Okay, so I'm going to line it up there. Make sure it lines up with the top of your envelope. And then just flatten her out. Again, I got some on my card, so I will just take, once it dries, I'll just take my adhesive eraser and erase that right off. Not a big deal. Trim this right off. Okay, let's set that aside for the moment. Yeah, it's kind of buckling. My paper's buckling a little bit just because there's so much glue on there, but it's just the envelope, so it doesn't matter. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my adhesive eraser right now. I think that's dry enough to get this off. Again, I apologize for the wiggling. I don't have a super sturdy desk. But see how it just erased that right off of there? A little bit right there is a little bit stubborn, but I'm more stubborn, so I win. Okay, now what we're going to do is take our fresh freesia designer series paper. We've got our fresh freesia ink. And this is the only stamping on this card, and it's actually pretty subtle. So we're going to take our stamp here, and on, let me see, how do I want to do this? It's so funny when I look at it one direction. Okay. See how there's these strips here that are a little bit lighter? In those lighter strips, I'm stamping the stamp that says "You are so loved." like that. And you know, they're not lined up absolutely perfectly where they're all equidistant from one another and necessarily even, but you know, it's close enough. I'm not mad at how it looks. So put our ink away. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the inside piece of our card. That was kind of a weird way to say that. So I've got a piece of basic white. It's 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Then I also have a little strip of the Fresh Freesia Designer Series paper. I have 2 of these little strips, to be honest with you, because instead of just putting one on the side or at the bottom, we're going to do top and bottom. And then I also have this little tiny cute heart that I cut out with my dies. So first, let's go ahead and glue these guys on. And I just want to kind of make it so that my margins on the 3 sides are about the same. So about like that, and make sure your piece is sort of straight. I shoot for sort of straight because perfectly straight isn't going to happen. Welcome, Tracy. Okay, so Tracy, you tell your mom she can send me cookies anytime. I'm perfectly happy to allow her to do that. Okay. Okay, so I've got my top and bottom one, and then I have my cute little tiny heart. Cut out a Mary Merlot. And I'm just going to put it right here, just like that. Now let's go ahead and glue this to the inside of our card. This card comes together really fast. Okay, inside piece. Oh, that's good to know. Tracy, will you send me a message with her website address? I love supporting small businesses, and you know, if they're small businesses with cookies, well, that's even better, right? And I am sure that if you are supporting a small business, there's no calories in those cookies. It works out that way. I'm sure of it. And if I'm wrong, don't tell me that. I would like to continue to believe that to be correct. Oh my goodness. I have my door open so the dog can kind of come and go as she pleases, especially because I keep having these, you know, personal summers going on. And she just came in with a big old mouthful of ice and is laying on my couch eating it. Okay, so now we're going to glue our Designer Series paper onto this white. The size of our basic white here is 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And then this is just an 1/8 of an inch smaller. So it's 4 7/8 by, hold on, I have to think this through, or I could just measure. 1, 2, 3 5/8. There we go. So it's just slightly smaller. Some people would just eyeball that. I'm not talented in that way. I have to have precise measurements, but then I'm an accountant too, so that's probably it. Nell, don't encourage her. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so we've got that on there. Let's go ahead and glue this down onto our card. Okay. As you can see, I gave this one a little bit bigger border than I normally do because I just really liked how that color popped. These are not 2 colors I would have thought to put together. And I just really liked how classy it was the way that Brian did it. And that's, you know, why I kept it his way. Usually when we case a card, we change things to make it our own. And I really didn't do that a lot on this card because I really admired the way he did it. So, okay, now I have a piece of Fresh Freesia and a piece of basic white. My basic white is 3 inches by 2.5 inches. My fresh freesia is just 1/8 of an inch smaller, so it's 2 7/8. I'm sorry, yeah, 2 7/8 by 2 3/8. Yes, 2 7/8 by 2 3/8, so that I just get that tiny little mat that I like to do. And we're gonna glue that down. And now I'm just going to glue this strip of the Merry Merlot behind my basic white. So I just kind of, let me do this up here. I want to make sure you're seeing on camera. I'm just laying it down, and then I'm just kind of trying to make sure that I've, for the most part, centered it, both horizontally and vertically. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to take these fun little brush stroke dies and we're going to glue them on. Now I could have just cut them out using my adhesive backed paper where you essentially turn your die cut into a sticker, and that's probably what I should have done. Alas, I did not. So I'm just putting little dots of glue where there are a little bit bigger strips of the cardstock. See what I mean? By a little bit wider bits. Okay, and then just putting this one on like that. It's very subtle because it is the same color, but it just gives a little dimension. I really, really liked it. Then I'm going to take the heart, the brush stroke heart, Okay, and it's just at a little bit of an angle there, like that. And now I'm going to put the lid on my glue, and we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of this. Putting probably more on there than I need, but that's okay. I would rather have too much than not enough and then have my cards sag. I've got enough things in my life that sag already. I don't want my cards doing it too. Is that too much information? I want to make sure that doesn't show on the front. Okay, so now I'm just going to tear off the back. Okay, and now I'm just going to try to center this as best I can on the front of my card. There we go. And now card number 3 is done. Lucy, get down. There we go. What do you guys think? So let's clean up the mess here, and then we'll take a recap of everything that we made tonight. If you liked what you saw, if you had fun, then I would love the hearts and the thumbs up, whether you're watching live now or later here on Facebook or on YouTube. That just makes me feel good. You can also share this video on your own page. Never know who might be interested in watching it. Okay. Let's take a look and see what we've got here. So we have the card that we just made, right, like that. We have our little mermaid card that we made. And then we also have this one that we made together. Come on. And this one that I made on my own using this same pack of designer series paper. Oh, Lucy's coming up to see what we did. So I hope you guys had fun. I hope you enjoyed them. Oh, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Teresa. So if you would like to place an order to order any of the supplies that I did tonight or that I used tonight, or to check out those online exclusives that I told you about, I'd love to earn your business at heathersides.stampinup.net. Also, if you are interested in the class that I talked about using the Colorful Kaleidoscope Kit, just go onto my website, order that kit, make sure you use the host code, and then that will get you eligible to participate in the Zoom class I'm going to offer on April 1st. And once I see that you've ordered that, I'll send you out the link and the information for that. Thank you, Marcia. Thanks, Joyce. Thanks, Nell. So all you have to do, the class is free if you purchase the kit on my website. You have to order it through me and use that host code. Also, if you place an order over $150, please don't use the code. Hey, Susan, welcome. Don't use the code if your order is over $150 because you will have some additional gifts coming to you from Stampin' Up. I want to make sure that you're the one who receives them. But if your order is under $150, if you would use that code, it helps me a lot. Helps me to continue to provide these videos for free and the prizes and such like that. So I do appreciate that. I hope you guys have a great week. I will see you here next week, next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Also, this upcoming Saturday, what's today is the 1st, so 4th of March, I will be doing my monthly Paper Pumpkin Kit alternate ideas video here on my Facebook page at 6 p.m. Pacific time. If you want to join us for that, it's a pretty cute kit. I will see you guys later. Have a good one.